the 36-yard line. Tony Station will return to the Kingdome in Seattle. Randall Morris at the 3 for Seattle. He's got a path at the 30. Fumbles the ball, and Denver has it at the 36-yard line. Tony Lilly, number 22, appeared to be the man who came up with the ball, a rookie from Florida. There he is, Lilly. And Dan Reeves, just as he was mighty happy at the start of the game with that long pass and the early lead, he gets the ball first in an unexpected fashion.
Looking at it from the opposite side of the field, Morris just stripped of that football right there. Tony Lilly, number 22, came up with it. I think it was Jackson, 28, that stripped it away.
Wow, Lilly had it all the way. He took it right out of his hand.
Jackson was there to help. Interesting play. Interesting play.
First turnover that goes to Denver, and they get the ball at the 34 of Seattle. Winder to the 31, and that really has to upset. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Let's go to the first half statistics.
Statistics rather interesting in that a 73-yard pass play for the Broncos, and they only have 96 yards passing. Interesting how one play can really make a half for a team. That long pass to Watson set up the touchdown was the most important play for the Broncos, and Chuck Knox said that yesterday, and I think Reeves would agree. In a game, there may be 4 or 5 plays that turn the tide of the game. We may just have seen one of those plays here with that fumble on the kickoff.
Second down and 7. Elway, a lot of time. Oh, he is nimble and quick. And look at him pick his way all the way to the 13-yard line. John Elway. Oh, that's unusual. They're moving the Seahawk defense. They just can't throw a net around the quarterback of the Broncos.
I think Elway probably went 70 yards on this play. Rolling out to his right. Cannot find an open receiver. Look at him there, a little fake, gets away from 77 Bryant, gets away from Jacob Green there. Now he will reverse his field. He'll go all the way back across the field about 35 or 40 yards and finally put it on the ground. They're inside the 15-yard line looking into the Seahawks end zone.
17 yards on the play from the 13. Oh, what a hit as Winder is nailed.
Keith Butler, 53. Shooting in from his linebacker position, leveled Sammy Winder.
Butler from Memphis State. He goes back to 9 years of age when he played Pee Wee football. He said, I knocked out my first injury. I knocked out my 2 front teeth. We had won the game. I threw my helmet up in the air, and I didn't catch it. Hit me in the mouth and knocked 2 of my teeth out. And from there on, this was his game. And boy, did he meet Winder in the hole for a yard loss. Jim Wright, the tight end, his first touchdown of the year. It comes in the last game, and what a big one for Wright.
Jim Daddy Wright, number 87. He's the H-back. John Sawyer, who's been playing that position, been on injured list for the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. They were hoping to have him back for this game, but in his absence, it's still James Wright, Daddy Wright. He did it upright on that play for the touchdown.
Former Atlanta Falcon, only his 11th catch of the year. Carless to try the point after. It's 17-7 Denver. So the Seahawks came out figuring they'd get the kickoff, try to establish an offensive drive to take the lead, but the fumble recovery, and it leads to this 14-yard touchdown throw by Elway.
Elway had it all the way, with the feeling that he was going to be able to get it deep. John Harris, number 44, the safety, beaten on the play. Perfect pass by Elway.
And Wright has given the Broncos a 10-point lead. In the first half, got only 7 points. The first turnover for Denver leads to a touchdown and a 17-7 lead. Morris, who fumbled the last time, has trouble again. He'll take, no, he's running it out. Oh, what a mistake. He could have stayed in the end zone and had a touchback at the 20, but confused, headed upfield, and he is down at the 2.5-yard line.
Randall Morris. And I think he just hesitated for a second, thinking that maybe he was wrong. You look at it, you can almost read his mind. He does not have to run this football out. He didn't provide the impetus to put the ball in there. He looks back and suddenly decides, but what if I'm wrong? And decided to bring it out of there, and that puts the Seattle Seahawks with their backs against the wall, and this is the kind of situation that Joe Collier and the Denver defense love. They love to have a little bit of an edge on the board. They've got that 10-point edge right now. This is when they can turn it loose and really put the pressure on an offense.
And Seattle has dug itself a hole now. Fumble on the kickoff return to start the half. A fumble again, and they begin at their 3-yard line. Eric Lane about 4 yards to the 7. Reuben Carter and Lewis Wright on the tackle.
Chuck Knox, I'm sure, very concerned with the way this half is open. It looked like they were going to have a good opening as they got a nice return on that ball, but then Lilly stripped it away and gave Denver an opportunity, and good teams capitalize on opportunities. Denver came right back, put it in the end zone, put the points on the board, and now Seattle really with their backs against the wall.
Lane again for a yard. That didn't fool the Denver defense. They have been tough against the run all season long, and they've been more generous against the pass.
We talked early in this ball game a bit about the great matchup between Rulon Jones, number 75, and in this case Ed Bailey, number 65. He's moved inside on the guard here. Now they're trying to control him inside. Essink starts inside to give him a little help, but look how Rulon fights out of that block, gets back to the outside to get the tackle on Eric Lane. That is excellent line play.
And brings up 3rd down and about 5. From his own end zone, there's Largent. Look at him spin away from Smith, and he has the first down at the 18. His 3rd catch today, Largent.
We mentioned the man-to-man coverage, and that was a shift in the defensive plan of Joe Collier. You saw Dennis Smith, their most athletic defensive back, isolated man-to-man on Steve Largent. Largent is tough to cover that way, finding a way to catch the football and pick up the first down.
10 yards on the play. First down out to the 18, giving Craig a little more room in which to operate. 17-7 Denver. We're early in the 3rd quarter. David Hughes, no gain. Reuben Carter, helped by Jim Ryan, number 50.
I'm sure Dan Reeves feeling very good about the way his team has started, and Reeves has really developed as a coach, Dick. I think in his early coaching, his first year, his initial year in Denver, things went pretty well, and then we went through that shortened 2nd year in which everything caved in on Dan Reeves. He said he learned a lot more in that year. Came back last year, got his team bouncing and back into the playoffs, and then this year they have just surprised everyone with the quality of their play.
As you saw, tough against the run and tough again today. Craig brought down from behind, may have gained a yard out to the 19-yard line, and if so, it's no sack for Chavis.
Reeves on the sideline.
There's some people who may consider themselves geniuses as coaches, but geniuses are made by great football players. Well, another way of saying the same old thing. You've never seen a jockey yet carry a horse across the finish line first. You got to have the people. You have to have the horses. A gain of a little less than a yard on the play, so no sack. 3rd and 9. Craig going deep for Byron Walker and almost intercepted by Dennis Smith. Or is that Randy Robbins?
I think it's Randy Robbins, 48. Robbins, who's one of the extra defensive backs that go on the field. Interesting that the Denver defensive coordinator, Joe Collier, talked about the loss of Dennis Smith, their free safety, strong safety, and he had to start moving extra people. He had to take Randy Robbins, who's a fine player, and put him into that position, and that meant moving somebody else up to be a sixth defensive back. And it was that kind of shuffling that they felt really hurt them in that earlier ball game this year.
Jeff West and Gerald Wilhite, fair catch right at the 40-yard line. Denver with the lead has excellent field position. The Broncos, at least at this stage, 8:30 left, third quarter, are in charge. Rudyard Kipling would have been proud of this headless player.
This is a very big player. What we wanted to show, and Walt Leffler, the equipment man for the Seahawks, gave us a pair of pads, and it's interesting what's happened. It used to be the defensive lineman worried about being grabbed. Now it's the offensive lineman. They put double-edged tape in here to hold the jersey down. They give you nothing to hang on to. We'll come back and talk about it in a second, Dick.
First down, Elway. Somebody should be open. Flag is down. Wright, who just caught the touchdown, is tackled at the 46. Yeah, holding against Denver.
I believe it was Keith Bishop. Coming back to the booth to show you what we have here. It's interesting, too. They even have a drawstring on these sleeves so that there's not a sleeve for the defensive man to grab a hold of. And I can remember when we tied our jerseys down defensively. Now they're doing it offensively. And one other thing we can show you is the mesh. It gets hot and humid inside here, and this jersey obviously designed to allow the athlete's body to get some cool air. So a little bit of equipment for the game.
Tough to even grab a hold of that stuff. Well, there was no grabbing of jersey, but a little hook of 54, Keith Bishop.
Bishop working on Jeff Bryant, number 77, and we mentioned him early. We have not really heard from him in a sack, but he has been a factor.
Wilhite on the shovel pass, running through a tackle and gains about 12 to the 42.
That's a very difficult play to react to defensively. It's like an off-speed pitch. I mean, it's not a pass and it's not a handoff. Another angle on that play, and it's just a little shovel pass. Elway just drops it back inside. Looked like he actually wanted to hand that one back inside. And again, you're thinking pass in that shotgun formation. Broncos able to run effectively on that play.
Tough call whether that was a lateral pass or forward pass. It is ruled a forward pass, 12 yards for Elway. And Winder to the 48-yard line, 2 yards shy of a first down as we pause briefly for station identification. From Seattle, this is the NBC television network of the AFC West. Two teams tied with 11-3 records, Denver and Seattle, and the Broncos lead by 10 in the battle in Seattle and have the ball 3rd and 2 at their own 48. Third quarter, 7:06 left. Winder is stopped short of the first down. Schultz and Simpson leading the charge along with Greg Gaines, and Denver will have to punt.
The Broncos have been able to make yardage repeatedly by getting good running from their backs. But on this play, watch how the Seahawks close in on the defense. You'll see excellent pursuit all across the line and virtually no hole at all. Joe Nash standing his man up. Jacob Green coming inside. Safeties, linebackers. Look how many blue-shirted players in on that play.
Norman, his only kick for 36 yards. Scansey is back at the 11.
Ooh, another straight up in the air.
Got a good bounce the first time and does again.
Can you believe that bounce?
He has kicked 2 balls that have gone only about 15 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, but they've taken 20-yard rolls.
The irony is that in the game in Denver, he averaged 56.6 yards per punt. Now here today, he's kicked them straight up in the air.
He's had the lucky roll. It's 17-7. Seattle has the ball. Fairway from the end zone. That's where the Seahawks want to put the ball, but at the moment it's back at their 18-yard line.
They have seemed to be backed up all day, and it's difficult with this kind of lead to operate against the Denver defense that has some freedom now. They can gamble. They can get more aggressive.
to Hughes. And he's to the 22, maybe the 23, close to 5 yards before Rulon Jones makes the hit for the Denver Broncos along with Barney Chavis.
Dick, we haven't talked about the game that the Seahawks played against Kansas City last week, but they were really flat in that ball game. They, by their own admission, just did not get out and play any kind of football at all. And sometimes when you look past the team and you play that poorly, it's hard to get things back into gear. The timing has not been there for the Seahawks today.
And they had their 8-game winning streak snapped at Kansas City, just as the Chiefs knocked off Denver and stopped their 10-game streak. Craig to Hughes, working on Harden, and Harden makes the tackle at the 33, but it's a first down. 10 yards on the play.
Hughes lunging for that last yard down the sideline, and Craig showing you that he too can run the football, although he has not created as many big plays today with his running ability as has John Elway. You're a very nervous coach. I tell you, he didn't hardly want to talk before the game, and I don't blame him. But he obviously feels better now, and his defenses seem to be in command.
17-7 Denver. Less than 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Break down the middle, and he had an open man, Turner, but he was throwing under pressure from Rulon Jones.
For 75, Rulon Jones. He's the guy that they're trying to keep away from Craig, but he's a finesse rusher. They talk about jerky pass rushing motions. He's the kind of guy that gives you the head fakes and the shoulder fakes, and then when you make a move with one of those fakes, he suddenly zips the other way and is gone.
Somehow that seems contradictory. 6'6" and 260 and a finesse rusher.
Well, that's his style. You know, Jeff Bryant, for example, on the Seattle team is really a bull rusher. He uses more strength than finesse in his rushing technique.
Both men about the same size. 2nd and 10 for Craig, buying some time. Incomplete, and is that intercepted? No, Harden never had control. Harden almost picking that one off as it bounced off Largent while he was still on the turf.
Ball bouncing around and caroming back and forth. An opportunity for these Broncos to pick up their second turnover had it stayed in the air. Louis Wright, man-to-man on Largent with help deep from Harden. Wright is the short man here, coming back with him. Yeah, a little bit of bumping there. Did that ball hit the ground?
I don't think so.
I don't think it did either. Good job of coming back there. Byron Walker, 89, actually knocked that ball out of Harden's hands.
3rd and 10. Craig is 15 for 28, but he's gotten only 148 yards out of those 15 completed passes. Intercepted by Foley, and Foley has a touchdown for Denver. Steve Foley has intercepted his 39th pass in his career. That was his first touchdown, and did he save it for a special spot?
You sense the elation of his teammates, and you of course can feel the depression. David Craig, Foley, really the man who initiates the activity in that defensive secondary for the Broncos. One of the toughest hitting safeties in all of football. On that particular play, showing you his skill as an interceptor.
Yeah, he was a college quarterback for 3 years with the Green Wave of Tulane, and he made his move perfectly. Wide open run of 40 yards for the touchdown, and it's the Broncos that are capitalizing very quickly on turnovers in the second half. Point is good by Carlos. Foley apparently had a touchdown earlier this year.
I think it was on a fumble recovery.
That was against Green Bay in the snow game in Denver, but that's his first by interception. There's a flag down on the extra point try, and here it is again. Foley making his move in front of the helpless Darrell Turner. That's the kind you dream of.
We talked at the very beginning of the show about turnovers and the fact that they could well determine the outcome of this ball game, and right early in the half. 2 big turnovers, 2 touchdowns for the Denver Broncos, and that indeed has made the difference so far in this ball game.
Marked off 10 yards for holding against the Broncos. They'll have to try the extra point again.
Terry Taylor, number 20, gets off of the ball as quick as anyone I've ever seen. They've had him trying to block the kicks from the right side on Carlos, and he just is like a cat, Dick. I've never seen anybody come in quicker.
There was some movement in the Denver line. You saw that, and that'll cost the Broncos 5 more yards. These two teams have been so opportunistic in terms of the defense scoring touchdowns. Seattle has 8 touchdowns. There you see the turnovers today. Seattle this year has 8 touchdowns by the defense, and that was Denver's 8th touchdown on defense.
Scoring on defense. There aren't many teams in the NFL who can go back over a 3-year period and show you that many touchdowns by their defense.
Well, Carlos is working himself into a 34-yard attempt for the extra point.
This is a pretty good-sized field goal now.
Well, he got a lot of practice, and Rich Carlos, who hit the uprights twice in losses to earlier, found his range last week, and he has been perfect today. How to shoot. Toward David Hughes at the 3. And Hughes is wrapped up at the 27-yard line. Well, prior to last week, the Denver newspaper, in the light of Carlos hitting the uprights, offered this view of Carlos trying a field goal with those teeth up there to knock it down. Well, he was 3 for 3 last week against San Diego and perfect today.
They have artists here in Bronco country too, showing the kind of goalpost that Carlos would have liked to have been kicking into. He's a fine young man, and I think one of the real tests of athletes, in particular kickers, because the pressure is so great, is their ability to respond to adversity, and we have to give him high marks in that area.
Seattle with work to do, trailing 24-7 late in the 3rd quarter, and the crowd is quiet by Kingdome standards, really quiet. That almost intercepted again as the pass thrown behind David Hughes and right into the arms of Jim Ryan. Jim Zorn is he going to come in if this continues.
He and Craig are good friends, and it's interesting. Chuck Knox has not hesitated on occasion to pull his quarterback and allow Jim Zorn to go into the ball game. Zorn is a tough competitor, and when he's watching a game, as he's had the opportunity to here in the first half, he can be mulling over the kinds of plays that he would like to see called in there, and he can be seeing what is happening with the defense. Some luxuries you don't have when you've got to keep your eye on the rush and try and get that ball to the open man in the field.
Craig on 2nd and 10 has Largent in motion and throws to Largent, incomplete. Did not get both feet down as he was hammered. Number 57, Tom Jackson, with the play.
And it would appear that the Denver defensive strategy of putting the pressure on the quarterback today, forcing him to make the perfect throw to the receivers in man-to-man situations, has paid big dividends. Craig is not having that kind of success in terms of getting the ball down the field. He has thrown the ball for quite a few completions, but in the overall scheme of things has not been able to control the game as he did the game in Denver.
Well, he had over 400 yards there, but only 148 today, 15 for 31.
His numbers dropping here in the second half.
He needs 10 to keep possession. There's Largent, and he has the first down at the 40. And did you see Largent work his way open? He battled to give Craig a shot.
Largent came all the way across the field in motion. Now watch him duck upfield. Man-to-man coverage by Dennis Smith, 49, and Largent across in front of him before he could make a move. Still manages to fight for the extra yardage.
Yeah, what I liked about that, Merlin, he didn't run laterally across field. He was giving ground back toward the quarterback to give him a chance. Otherwise, Smith had too good a coverage on him. He's about to become the number 9 receiver all time, passing Lance Allworth when catches. Another first down at the 44 is Byron Walker, hit by Dennis Smith after a 15-yard play.
Dave Craig showing you that he has some arm strength too. He rifled that ball. Just a straight line bullet. Walker, good concentration to keep a hold of it. You know, Craig actually got his first starting opportunities back in '81 when Zorn broke an ankle and did well. Won 2 of the last 3 games in that year, and then won the starting job the next year under Jack Patera, 1982, only to injure his hand and see Zorn come back into the lineup.
A rare free agent quarterback, Dave Craig, trying to get Seattle back in the game. Oh, Charlie Young doesn't drop many of those.
Little timing pattern. Craig maybe put a little too much heat on that, although you have to throw that ball with some velocity when you're throwing it in between the linebackers.
50% passer is Craig today. 1 touchdown, 4 yards, but also 1 interception that went for a touchdown.
1 very critical interception. Now, the word that keeps popping up when you talk about quarterbacks, and especially quarterbacks who are in their development cycle, and I would certainly put Craig in that area, is confidence. Is confidence. And you kind of feel that Craig has been shaken a little bit today in this ballgame.
A quick toss to Largent, and he has another first down. And for Largent, that is his 5th catch today. And move aside, Bambi. Lance Allworth is now number 10 all-time, as Largent has moved ahead of him in the number 9th spot with his 543rd reception.
In his time in the league, no one has caught more passes for more yardage, more touchdowns than Steve Largent.
And started the season 29 years of age. If he stays healthy the way he runs his routes and with those hands, he might catch 700, 750 before he's through.
Well, he's proved his value today, and right now the Seahawks thinking about getting it into the end zone.
First down at the 32. To the 27-yard line. Gain of about 5. 2:15 left in the 3rd quarter, and Denver leading 24-7.
They need the touchdown. It's interesting about this Denver defense. They give up a tremendous amount of yardage. In fact, in total defense, they're ranked 24th in the league. Now that's a yardage statistic. And yet they're the 2nd toughest defense to score on in the NFL. As you push them down toward their end zone, they get tougher and tougher and tougher.
Really difficult inside the 20. Over the middle to Young. The tight end has a first down at the 14. Rick Dennison, number 55, with a tackle.
Well, and Dave Craig says, I heard about your reputation. I'm coming anyway. As he moves his team down the field, he has gone a number of times today to his tight ends across the middle. Charlie Young doing a good job of sorting his way through that defense to find room.
Saw Knox take a peek at that clock. That's his enemy now. 1:09 left in the 3rd quarter.
Jim Zorn on the sideline with his helmet on. I wonder if that means anything.
Into the end zone to Young. Touchdown.
The Seattle crowd responding, kicking that meter up well over 100 as they have something to cheer about finally here in the 2nd half. A touchdown down the middle of Charlie Young. A chance now to get the ball back and get themselves back into this football game.
For Craig, that is his 2nd touchdown pass today. His 32nd this year, second only to Dan Marino with 44 in that sensational year with Miami. Norm Johnson adds the extra point. And with less than a minute remaining in the 3rd quarter, Seattle is within 10.
We'll put you right where the action is, looking down from the camera atop the goalpost, and we watch Craig zip that ball into the end zone. Craig dropping back to play all the way to Charlie Young, one-on-one on number 50, Jim Ryan, And that's the kind of play that will have the Seahawks and their fans celebrating here in the Kingdom.
Charlie Young, his first touchdown of this season. He's approaching 400 career catches. He pulls his team within 10, 24, 14. Johnson to kick it off. This one is short. Lang at the 12. 30. And Gene Lang, the rookie, all the way to the 43-yard line. 11th round draft pick from LSU. Well, the progression of turnovers in a positive vein for these teams. In 82, Denver a -17 in the hole. Then last year a +6 and now 24. This includes today's turnovers, a -2 for Seattle, then 16 and 21. A lot of people relegate that to luck. It can't be just a lucky bounce down.
It is not luck. It's something you work at. That's something we ought to go back and talk more about after this play, Dick.
Good return, and Denver has it at the 43 with 42 seconds left in the third quarter. And that's Winder into Seattle's 35-yard line before Simpson can knock him off his feet. 22 yards.
Something missing in that Seattle defense today. They are not making the tackles. They're not getting people to the point of attack. Winder, an excellent job here. Bryant did a great job on Nash on the nose. And Sammy just refuses to go down. A lot of missed tackles for this Seattle defense and some excellent running by Sammy Winder.
He has 83 yards today, and with that last run, Denver will let the clock run out. That is the end of the third quarter. The battle in Seattle at this point, it's Denver standing tall, 24-14. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. And it's 24-14 Denver leading the Seahawks as we open the fourth quarter. The statistics, total yards, a 10-yard difference. Denver 10 more yards than Seattle. But a couple of key turnovers in that third quarter led to 2 touchdowns for the Broncos. Winder breaks a tackle by Nash and gains 4.
We bounced around a few of the key matchups at the beginning of this ball game. One of them we talked about was Bryant against Studdard, and another one, Nash against Bryant on the center. We've heard very little from Nash during this ball game and very little from Bryant during this game. Look at the control right there by Billy Bryant, who keeps Nash out of the play until the end of it. And then when Nash did get there, because he was out of bounds, couldn't make the tackle. Another missed tackle.
Elway airs it out. And a flag is down. Interference against Simpson. That'll be down around the 5-yard line as Butch Johnson apparently was bumped.
Big mistake in the secondary, although I think the feeling was if they hadn't done it, they would have caught the ball.
Interference, number 42 defense, first down.
First and goal. Now, with Denver inside the 5, the situation is this early in the fourth quarter. A field goal wouldn't bother Seattle so much because they're going to have to score twice anyway. But a touchdown means that the Seahawks have to score 3 times in the fourth quarter.
Right at the end of that play, as you see the ball in the air, the bump in the back of Butch Johnson by Keith Simpson. And of course, Denver has an excellent opportunity to fatten up their lead.
Rich Paris has the touchdown. Paris straight ahead as the Seahawks may have been looking for Winder, and Paris has scored.
A little counter action on that play. Well designed to get the defense to move out of the way. Paris slamming right up in the middle on into the end zone. Look how it looks like a play that's going to go outside, and Elway spins all the way around, hands it back inside. Good blocking. A few more kudos to that Denver offensive line as they make room for Paris and the touchdown.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl voters may have done Seattle a gross disservice before this game because the Broncos are angry that only one player has been named to that honor. Carlos hits the extra point. Winder is one of the reserve backs that will go to the Pro Bowl. But how about Bill Bryan and how about Tom Jackson and some of the players on this Denver team? You see tomorrow, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Whoever wins the Central will be playing the winner of this game in 2 weeks. Simpson with 2 interceptions, but also that pass interference on the last Denver drive. The Broncos 31-14. David Hughes to the 21-yard line. Pro Bowl 7 Seattle players will go to Hawaii, but only one Bronco, Sammy Winder. Here they are, Brown and Easley. And Easley a unanimous pick. Norm Johnson the kicker. Craig the backup quarterback to Marino. Largent, Nash, and the special teams representative Fred Young. That's the first time they've honored a special teams player, and Bill Bates of Dallas will go as the NFC special teamer.
I've got to believe that kind of an insult, and that's really, Tom Jackson said it. He said the rest of our division, the rest of our conference is telling us what they think of us as players. Well, they refuse to honor any of our best, and I think it's gotten their adrenaline up for this game today.
Remind you that the coaches and the players vote on those Pro Bowl memberships. Craig, and it was intended for Largent and hit the defender in the back, Busey. And a flag is down.
I believe we're going to have another penalty against
holding.
Yeah, against the Seahawks. Last thing they needed. They're having enough trouble getting downfield as it is.
Well, they have to score 3 times now, and that means that every possession must lead to some points.
64 offense, holding, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Jack, let's go back and talk briefly about the turnovers, and we showed the progression, how these two teams have both improved in that area. And you ask a question about luck isn't luck. I'll tell you what Dan Reeves said. He said he felt that the big difference and the reason that they were not able to win back in 1981 or 1982, that strikes shortened season, was that they turned the ball over 17 times more than they were able to take it away. And he said, I was determined to do something about that.
I'll let you complete that, too, because he indeed structured a plan. Craig in trouble. Had to throw from his own 1-yard line, and Dornick, who has a touchdown reception, is to the 26. That's not enough for the first down, but gets a good chunk back, 15 yards. And he immediately initiated a plan to improve that statistic, didn't he?
He certainly did, Dick. He took the first 5 minutes of every practice, and they worked on some phase of turnovers every day. And I said, why the first 5 minutes? He said, because in that way, I could let my players know how important we felt turnovers were. Not only making turnovers, but also in keeping from turning the ball over. And they went, as you saw, from negative numbers, big negative numbers, to positive numbers.
On second down, a diving catch by Scansey, and a first down at the 36. This little guy from Washington, he doesn't have great speed or size, but what hands.
Now, they liken him to a young Largent. They would love to have him develop the same kind of skills that Largent has. I don't think has the fluidity or the grace of a Steve Largent, but he is a scrapper, and he's a hometown favorite here in Seattle.
We'll keep our eye on the clock for you. 12:51 remaining in the fourth quarter. Denver leading 31-14. Craig does sack from the backside by Reuben Carter, the 10-year veteran from Miami of Florida, the 4th Denver sack today.
Interesting how this game has almost been an opposite parallel to that earlier game this year. In that ball game, the Seahawks were able to shut out this Denver offense, or the Denver defense, from getting any sacks on the quarterback. And here in this ball game, just exactly the opposite, as they have been doing the damage and putting the pressure on Craig.
Second down and 18 for Craig. 12:30 left. Dumps it off to Dornick. Good running by Dornick. He's across the 40-yard line, bringing up third down and about 5.
One thing certain, that big investment in earplugs may not have been necessary for these Denver Broncos. I wonder how many of them are sitting down there under the bench right now, because with the control of this ball game, they have been able to quiet this usually noisy crowd right down.
The good news is both teams are in the playoffs. The bad news is the team that loses today has to play the Raiders next week. Raiders meet Pittsburgh tomorrow and have a chance to decide the Central Division Championship. Craig.
Here comes the blitz. He got away.
And there's the ever-present Largent making the catch at the 50. You see him go into that pop-up slide, caught the ball right back on his feet like a man stealing second base.
Craig knows who he's going to go to in that kind of pressure situation. Did a good job of avoiding the rush. The blitz is on here. Watch from the right-hand side. Pressure coming right there from Carl Mecklenburg. Wiped out one of his own teammates. Ed Bailey did a good job of getting back to help on that play. And there's that bounce up slide. That's going into second place and looking for third.
First down for Seattle.
There's Mecklenburg, 77, coming in on that last play, just barely missing another sack.
Little quick toss out in the flat to Lane for a couple of yards to the 48 of Denver, but Seattle needs big plays now, and the clock is running. 10:45 left. Second down and 8. (31-14). Denver has led throughout. 7-0, 10-0, 10-7 at the half. Then two quick scores on defensive turnovers. One a Foley interception to build a 24-7 lead. Seattle came back to close at 24-14. But here in the fourth quarter, another touchdown for Denver to lead 31-14. Flag down. I think it's against Seattle for motion. If it is against Denver, that would be a first down at the 35.
Dornick doing a good job. Dornick injured his knee in that game last week, and you're right, Dick. Nothing seems to be going Seattle's way here in this second half. Take that nice gain for a first down and march off the 5 yards.
Motion, right side of the offensive line. They move before the snap. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Let's see if we can pick that up.
Pratt, the man who was moving on that play, and you saw him trying to get out. They're just trying to get out. They're the option men. They're trying to pick up. They're expecting the blitz, and they want to get back to where they can see who's coming. Well, they got back a little too quickly on that play.
10 minutes, 11 seconds left in the quarter. The final period here in the Kingdom. Craig.
He'll run for it.
But he does not get the first down. Does stop the clock at the 45-yard line, 5 yards short of the first down.
Craig showing us good speed as he came outside, broke it to the sideline, got down within 5 yards of the first down. It'll be third and a little less than 5 yards to go.
They need the quick strike.
They need the big bomb, and that's something that Denver has done effectively in this game and throughout the season, although they were able to get that first bomb against them. There's a good story in that first pass that Craig threw to Turner in that earlier game between these two teams. Seattle came out in a formation that they had run 100% out of, and I think they sucker punched Denver's defense a little bit.
Third down and 5. A draw, quarterback draw, and Craig has the first down at the 35. You can see Craig trying to hurry his team back into the huddle. They can't afford to waste any seconds now because they have to score and get the ball back 2 more times and score.
I think this is one of the toughest plays in football right here. Reuben Carter, the man he had to put a little move on there, get him to go one way, and Craig went the other. And when you're expecting the pass and you're dropping deep, and especially when you're playing man-to-man, it's hard to come back and get a hold of that quarterback on that particular play. You're looking at the receivers. So if you can beat the line, you've got room.
The play Jim Zorn ran very well for years here in Seattle. With 9:18 left. Dumps it off to Dornick. And a flag is down again. Dornick to the 24-yard line.
And we've got a holding call against Seattle. And again, a fine gain will be negated by the penalty.
Yeah, the testimony to the Bronco defense.
64 offense, holding, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Ron Essink, he's been ticketed a couple of times here in the quarter.
Talk about the tough matchups. You put those good pass rushers on top of these guys all day long. They're allowed to use their hands effectively, and they do. But sometimes they get a little too aggressive in the use of their hands.
Do you think they ought to tighten up that rule and not allow quite so much to the offense?
It's not a rule I like at all, Dick.
Of course, you have a bias. I mean, you wouldn't like...
Just slightly biased.
Dornick again stopped at the 37-yard line. That'll bring up 2nd and 12. And in the meantime, Denver's going to take its time getting off the man who's tackled because they want that clock to run. 8:57 showing. Gene Barth stopped the clock now until Dornick could extricate himself and get back in the huddle. Now it's rolling again.
Now, of course, the Broncos' philosophy here is that they will give you the short passes underneath. In fact, they'll just try and keep you in bounds, keep the clock running. Right now, it's a battle with the clock as well as Seattle, and it's a battle that Seattle has got to fight rather quickly, or they're not going to have a chance to come back.
Craig complete. That's Byron Walker, free agent out of Citadel. 14 yards in the first down, but the clock is going. 8:23, 8:22 left.
You look right into the eyes of the quarterback. Craig getting pressure on that play, still able to spot Walker coming across the middle. Here it is. Walker will come across at the lower part of your screen. He's looking to his left, finally spots Walker, and right there, zipped it inside. Good play. Down, first down, just outside the 20-yard line.
But Denver, although they're giving up ground, they're also forcing Seattle to use a lot of clock. Less than 8 minutes left. This is the 12th play of the drive. That's Charlie Young. And former Southern Californian, as is Young, ex-Trojan. Dennis Smith was covering him. Well, that Smith is quite an athlete. Good size, one of the taller safeties in the league at 6'3", and he high jumped 7 feet at USC, and in practice 7'2". So you've got yourself a lot of man when Dennis Smith takes you on.
Denver, they feel that he can be as good as he wants to be, and he's an impressive safety now. He decides he wants to play and wants to be the best around. Has every tool you could possibly ask of a safety. Big, strong, fast, good hitter, and certainly very bright in the way he's approached the game.
Last incomplete stopped Craig at 10 straight. 2nd and 10 with 7:47 left. Over the middle, Darrell Turner cannot get out of the grasp of Lewis Wright. There's another man with size and talent, Wright at 6'2" and 200.
And there are those who feel that Louis Wright had credentials that could have allowed him to be in that Pro Bowl this year. He's been there many times and really has had a better year in this season than he had last year in 1983.
They say he has the perfect personality to play cornerback, introverted and sometimes temperamental, and with short memories. You don't want a long memory if you're playing cornerback.
You can't afford a long memory. Well, they need the end zone here. Denver saying, nope, we're going to keep you short if we can.
14th play of this drive.
Another draw, quarterback draw.
Doesn't work. And stopped short of the first down. And of course, at this point, trailing by 17. Seattle, well, they may go for a field goal at that, or let's keep our eyes open at this stage for a possible fake.
The holder in this field goal situation, Jim Zorn. And when you have a quarterback as a holder, you might see all kinds of things rather than a kick.
6:31, 6:30, clock running. It would be a 33-yard attempt by Johnson if.
You've got to believe that Denver's thinking the same thing. That it's a fake.
And the little option incomplete, and Denver takes over as Zorn's pass to Dornick was too low, or to Johnson, the kicker, and that was too tough a chance for Johnson.
A little wishbone tee. Zorn, the man who exercised the option, and he just fired it a little hard. Well, you can read the lips and you know how disappointed Zorn is. He's taking it to his left. He gets the option he wanted, and then instead of throwing the ball up where it could be caught easily, he put it at the feet of his kicker, Norm Johnson, and just no chance for him.
A good pass, and it would have gotten first down yardage, not a touchdown, but that may be the play that sends Denver home as the champions of the West. We have 6:14 remaining in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos are riding on a 17-point lead. Kingdome record, and needless to say, a disappointed partisan crowd. I don't know if the 64-411 counts those 3 birds that we saw in the end zone, but
well, they're all. I think even the birds are disappointed. They've flown, Dick. They're not there anymore.
Now John Elway and the Broncos will undoubtedly keep it on the ground, and so read by 77 Jeff Bryant. One of the few times that Bryant has been in on a play today. He's a leading sack man for Seattle this year with 14.5 out of Clemson, a #1 pick in '82.
There's just no way to anticipate the emotional mix of a game, and it's really emotion that provides the difference in ball games, much more so than the difference in talent on a team or the difference in strategy. And today, in part, I think because of the way they arrived here, Denver appeared more motivated. They had a better feeling about this game than Seattle, and then they have gotten breaks that have allowed them to sustain. In particular, in the second half, the first kickoff, they got the ball, they took advantage of that, and then came right back with the interception for the touchdown.
Staying on the ground, and it appeared there might have been a fumble there from the reaction of the Broncos, and Bishop may have recovered that fumble. It could have been a key play. 5:15, and some of the folks are exiting early here at the Kingdome.
Yeah, they're disappointed, but what a great year they have had here in Seattle. And this is, you know, we said it early. No, there are no losers in this game. Both these teams go on into the playoffs. It's a little tougher row to hoe if Seattle continues in a losing situation, because not only do they have to play the Raiders, but they've got the extra game, and they will end up having to play so much on the road, and it's difficult.
And using all of the 30 seconds allowed. This is when you realize that 30 seconds seems almost too much time for a pro team. When the collegians can do it in 25, why can't the pros? And look at Elway. He may have gotten the first down with that. Now, this is going to create some mixed bedfellows in the NFL. What this game does now, it makes the Raiders game against Pittsburgh more important for the Raiders, because the Raiders will get home field against Seattle if they beat Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's trying to win in order to take the Central Division. And Miami now needs to win against Dallas on Monday night, or they would sacrifice the home field advantage as you look ahead to the AFC Championship. So it really stirs the pot, the result here today.
Clock continues to move down. Reeves has got to feel terribly proud of the way his Broncos have played today. I bet they're already celebrating up in the Mile High City.
Well, Denver's had a great year. They won 10 in a row after splitting their first 2 games. Then they lost 2 of those 2 heartbreaks to Seattle and Kansas City when Carlos hit the uprights. Came back last week to beat San Diego. And this is only the 3rd time all year they've scored more than 30 points in a game. And the other 2 are against also Rams, Buffalo and Minnesota. And they've beaten a top team today and beaten them on their home field.
They certainly have. And Knox, who's a very blunt kind of coach, I'm sure will come away saying, hey, they just blew us off the field today, and they have earned this victory and earned their advantage in the playoffs.
So Knox say, as soon as the play is over, call time. Paris up the middle for short yardage, and Keith Butler indeed calls time with 2:58 remaining in the game. But not much in that magic sheet for Knox. Denver Broncos only 3 minutes, less than that from victory. If Denver wins and they lead commandingly 31-14 next week in the wild card, Seattle will be at Los Angeles if the Raiders beat Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh wins tomorrow in Los Angeles, and you'll see that on NBC, then Seattle will host the Raiders. And in 2 weeks, Denver will host either Cincinnati or Pittsburgh in Denver. Saw Glenn Hyde there for a while. He's quite a story, isn't he?
He is. We'll get back to him. It's kind of fun to talk to in the locker room.
3rd down and about 14. There's Hyde.
The most excited player on the field today. I don't think there's anybody as pumped up as he is.
Elway going to throw. And he's got Watson at the 36, just short of a first down.
Glenn Hyde had been a Bronco earlier in his career and has been in the USFL, been playing and coaching, in fact, a player coach for the Chicago Blitz. And they told him earlier this year that they were not going to renew his contract. So he's just kind of been sitting around waiting. And suddenly, because of the injuries to Bronco offensive linemen, he got a call from the Broncos. They said, come on back. He said, this is like a dream come true. I saw at 9:30 this morning, he's down in the locker room, running around in the locker room, and he's already got his sweat up. You talk about being excited, but there's a nice payday in this for him, too.
Oh, yeah. Christmas came early for Glenn Hyde. And, well, for that matter, all of the Broncos, they have Christmas off with a win in Seattle. The Broncos jumped in front early, close at the half. The key play, probably the start of the second half. As Denver kicked off to Seattle, Morris had the ball stolen away by rookie Tony Lilly. That led to a touchdown. The next possession, Craig pass intercepted by Steve Foley, 40 yards for a touchdown, and the Broncos have breathed easier since. 10 men on the line on a punt try. Ooh, no contact apparently. Picked by Chris Norman to Scansey, and nothing there for Scansey, who gets to the 28-yard line. 32-yard punt, a -4-yard return, and Dave Brown gets up slowly at midfield.
Seahawks use a lot of their frontline players on special teams, and usually they have a special teams edge, but their special teams have hurt them today. The fumble on the kickoff, and they have not had the mistake by Morris in the end zone running the ball out when he should have stayed in the end zone. They have not had the kind of play that Rusty Tillman's special teams are noted for.
Craig out of the shotgun, trailing 31-14, and look at that Denver defense. They're playing 20-25 yards downfield, and that went over everyone. Louis Wright had Scansey well covered.
With the clock ticking away, you really don't have that much to do here. You hope you can get deep, but that kind of pass against the defense that's playing 20 yards back, I don't even think that's a low percentage pass. That's a no percentage pass.
As you know by now, the New York Giants were defeated by New Orleans 10-3. The Giants now need help from 2 other games. Dallas suddenly, when it appeared very dark for Tom Landry's Cowboys, Dallas can make the playoffs if they beat Miami. It's as simple as that. So the Cowboys in control of their future.
They have to be excited. They have sure had an up and down elevator type season.
But now they get a Miami team that wants to win because they'd like to have that home field. So they have a little added incentive based on what happened here today. Craig to Largent, and then lateraling to Dornick. And he steps out of bounds at the 43-yard line. The old trailer play.
Now, one thing you have to know is that Chuck Knox has plays designed and packages designed for most every situation. This is the same famous play that the Miami Dolphins scored on in that very long game. You see the pass outside, and it caught a couple of people flat-footed. Denver, with so many people deep, able to recover and push Dornick out of bounds, but they got excellent yardage on the play down to the 43-yard line.
16 of the 30 goes to Largent, and 14 to Dornick on the lateral. 2:20 left. Seattle has one timeout left. Largent again, and the pass not quite long enough. Steve wanted another. Oh, he is fun to watch, and is certainly an inspiration for players who don't have the size nor the speed by working on their techniques. You talked about finesse on defense. Here's a man who just knows defenses, outthinks defensive players, and has such wonderful feet, uses them magnificently.
When you talk about the battle between receivers and defensive backs, what the receivers are looking for is a separation from those defensive backs, and very often that's not a matter of speed as much as it is quickness and body control. And those are the kinds of things that Largent will use to separate himself from the defensive man. Now, if you're talking about what the defense wants to do, they want to close on the receiver, and they'll try to use those same skills to get in there so they can knock the ball away.
Craig dumps it off to Dornick, and he is down at the 32 with 2:03, and that'll run down to the 2-minute timeout. 2 minutes away from a celebration on the Denver sidelines. They lead here in Seattle 31-14, and here now another fantastic finish. 2 minutes to go. Denver Broncos leading 31-14, and tough to pick out any star in this game. I think that once again the Broncos have won because their defense has played so very well.
Now, that's a familiar story. All year long they've been able to score on defense. They've been able to come up with the big plays, and 2 ball games in which they were shut out on the turnover side. One of those against the Seahawks team, and last week against San Diego. Of course, they lost one of those games, and very close in the other one.
Craig trying to do a little cosmetic surgery here, but he's intercepted by Mecklenburg. And the 260-pound linebacker can run.
Wow.
50. He's out of bounds at the 40-yard line, and Mecklenburg from Minnesota, he can rumble.
He has made some very big plays for this defense. They use him as an up and down linebacker. They'll use him as a defensive lineman. On this play, he is way deep, dropping deep into the secondary. But for a big man, watch the kind of agility and speed that he develops here. He's outrunning some good, speedy receivers and offensive backs. I think it's Craig, number 17, that pushes him out of bounds finally. The quarterback getting over to protect. He enlarged it. And boy, Mecklenburg was just legging it out.
That's the best impersonation of Bronco Nagurski we've seen in a long time. Mecklenburg, he says, I like that 77. You know, when they moved me from defensive line to linebacker, I could have taken another number, but my wife can find me better with 77. You don't see many linebackers with twin sevens.
You don't. You surely don't.
Well, you could see him on that one. Al Elway now will run out the clock, protecting the ball. 1:41 left. I'd like to thank those who have brought you this action of the Championship of the West. Executive producer Michael Weissman, coordinating producer of NBC's football coverage is Ted Nathanson. Today's game has been produced by Larry Cirillo, directed by Ted Nathanson. NFL 84, produced by John J. Filippelli. NFL 84, directed by Bucky Guntz. Technical directors Dixon Williams and Richard Sansevier, and associate directors Ray Bonassi and Mary Buda. Men and women who have brought you the action, the color, and look at that face of Dan Reeves. That spells championship Denver.
Tom Jackson there to celebrate with his coach, and both have really had impressive years. It's interesting to look back at the beginning of this season. Many of the Denver writers already grumbling about how poor a team Denver was, that they would be lucky to finish with any kind of winning season. And yet here they are, champions of the toughest division in the entire NFL, and they have every reason to celebrate their victory here today and their championship.
Yeah, the pictures are different on the other sidelines. We want to thank Joe Costanza, our statistician, Gary Moore, Jim Ott, Barry Culver, Frank Manthow for their assistance here in the booth today. Final play of the game. And now the Denver Broncos can see the final 15 seconds or so click away. Chuck Knox to congratulate Dan Reeves. Knox has a date with the Raiders either in L.A. or here in Seattle next week. Denver has a week off and will play either Pittsburgh or Cincinnati 2 weeks hence. It's official. The Broncos 31 and the Seahawks 14. An upset for Dan Reeves' team from Denver. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen. Stay tuned. We'll be back with NFL 84 immediately following these messages.